there is only one way for you to become happy and successful. And I mean permanently or ultimately. You can have periods of time in your life where you think I'm kind of happy and maybe I'm feeling a bit of success, but then it may change. And that's because you still haven't gotten to that place where you would experience being ultimately happy and successful, and that is your authentic self. Now, if you can find some other way of getting there other than becoming your authentic self, please let me know, because I've tried all those other ways and they never worked. And they caused me a lot of misery. And this is why I'm so passionate about the work that I'm doing now. It is why I've shifted my focus into authenticity coaching, because I know it's the only thing that works. It's the only thing that gets you out of your misery and causes you to live the life that you were meant to have. And I'll tell you why I know that. Because I tried to not be myself most of my life. And it caused me all sorts of hardships. And then the other part of this, and why I'm so passionate about it now, if I had continued to do that, I would have not given the world my gift. And that is exactly what I think about every single person that I work with, every single client, every person. I have worked with so many people over the years that I have seen this in action, so I can speak from this place of truth. But I didn't know that when I was younger, you see, because we all come in with different programming. We have things that we need to move through in our lives to discover who we are. And it may take a long time. It may take us to my age. I'm 72, but I know that this is what my life was meant to do now, because it's also in connection with what's happening in our world. Our world is changing. As that happens, we individually change as well. But we have to move into that next place, that next dimension of who we're meant to become. I was in a group this morning talking about potential, because that's the thing that kind of screws us up when we're younger. We always hear, you're not living up to your potential. And we question, what is that? What does that mean? And we don't know what it is because we haven't gotten there yet. But the fact is, we're never going to live up to our potential, because it changes as we evolve, as we become more. What we can accomplish, what our vision is for our lives becomes bigger, it becomes grander, if we are willing to embrace it. And that's what I am doing now, and I hope more people begin to do that, because it will help shift our world. When I began, I had done so many other things in my life. From the time I was 26, I was successful. You could say that I had reached that level of success that people want to have, because I left college, got a job. I was doing I had 2 jobs by this point, and they both brought me a lot of money. I'm traveling around. I'm doing everything that you could possibly imagine. And then after that, everything fell apart. It just kind of went south. I went through more difficulties and challenges than anybody could ever want to experience, or I could fill a book to talk about them all. And then I finally had to kind of shift in 1982. I had to leave New York and move to Los Angeles because I couldn't get anywhere else. I couldn't figure it out. And then I kept struggling for many, many years. But then in 1988, I had to make another choice. But I was only making that choice because a coach that I was working with at that time told me, you need to do this. I was not going to believe in myself. He told me I need to do this. And so I changed. And I gave up my secure career to take this other thing that I didn't know what was going to happen with it. But then it started changing. And then what happened is I needed help. So I started doing meditation. I started doing automatic writing, and I started receiving information. And surprisingly, it started changing my life. Now, it was also very weird. It was very uncomfortable for me because I didn't understand it. But I'm sitting there and writing things that are giving me specific directions of what I should do. And and because it was so unnerving, it was uncomfortable for me, I didn't want to tell anybody. I told a few people, but not very many people. I go back now and I read some of these writings that I wrote all those years, and still can't quite understand how I access this information and put it down. And that's the same for every single person. We accumulate things as we live our lives. We're not aware that we've done that, but they've given us value and worth, and they're not going to be the same as anyone else. We're not going to find information or guidance the way anyone else does, because we're supposed to live unique individual lives. We have a path. But when we don't honor that, we go into all sorts of difficulty. Now, I didn't honor it because I thought I was going to be judged. That's what a lot of us do. We think this thing that I have, people are going to think it's strange or different and judge me. Nope, that didn't happen. So what happened as a result of that, as I started receiving this information, my life went through so many other horrible changes many of you might think of, from illnesses, hospitalizations, losing part of my foot, doing all addictions, everything else you can possibly imagine. And I kept it hidden from every single person. But what I did is I healed them all. I healed physical things, all of this from the information that I was receiving. And then later, as things kept going on, and I knew that things were different because my awareness now has changed. My awareness has shifted. I can see things in a different way. Part of that came from working with, hundreds of clients over the years. It's not possible for me to be in the presence of hundreds of clients and not start to understand human behavior and human development. So you develop things. That's what happened. But as a result of that, I was also receiving guidance, spiritual information. It was guidance that it changed everything in my life. And then I'm told, we gave you everything you needed to know in 2012. Now that was challenging for me, and it was very difficult for me to believe that had occurred. But then I went back and I started looking at the information, and I said, yeah, that's happening. And what was happening in our world, I started to see it. And you go back to my messages that I received from Wilhelm like 2 years ago. I just posted one almost 3 years ago now, posted one yesterday that pretty much detailed what was happening in our world. We're going through an evolution, but the evolution is happening within you. And the evolution gets better in our world if you become happy and successful. That's what I was told. I was told that I was given all this information to help people move through this period so that they can move to the best place in their lives. And if they do that, they're adding light and love to the world. We create our world energetically, all of us. It's not possible that you're not doing that. We are all equally contributing to the conditions of our world. And again, if you study quantum physics or mechanics, you can start to understand that. Or listen to people like Greg Braden or maybe Bruce Lipton, who can put it together in scientific terms. I channeled it all, so it was intuitive. So it was difficult for me to accept that is what had happened, but it has happened. And many other works have been created the way that I did it. There have been other volumes of philosophies and that have been downloaded and used and put into the world. And that's what I'm doing, which is why I decided to change, because I recognize I have something that could cause any individual to completely transform their lives and become happy and successful. And knowing that is true, and seeing the condition of our world and me not putting it out there because I'm afraid that somebody might judge me, that's being really selfish, and I'm no longer doing that. But what I am doing is closing out my program today, as I told many of you, in the way that it is now. It's going to be still there, but it's going to be 3 months, as I said, but only the people who come in through today can have it just for that 3 months, because it's going to be the price that reflects 3 months. That's what it's going to be, because we're going to be moving through a change in our world for a while. You're not going to be settled in who you are yet. That doesn't happen. We have to go through this cognitive process of changing our thinking. This is what I did. I did it every day for more than 40 years, actually, because I started doing other things in the early 80s when I moved to California. So it's been a long time. But what happens is your brain changes. You start to see yourself differently. You start to see your life differently, and you prosper. That's what happens. So I know that everybody's not going to do this work, and that's cool. But find someone who's going to help you, because you're going to want to know who you are over these next several months, because not feeling empowered will cause you and your life to be a little chaotic, because that's the chaos that we're seeing in the world. And I couldn't explain to people why I knew this, but I did. And I couldn't explain why I was writing the things that I did 3 years ago, but it's happening in our world. But I do know that what I have can cause someone, because I see it every single day, it's coming into my inbox all the time, so I know that it's true, that you could change your life and start to feel so much better about who you are and live a life of happiness, prosperity, abundance, love, all of those things if you just decide to take the time and work on your brain. We only live in our consciousness. We only experience our lives and our world through our perceptions. And you can change them anytime you decide that you want to be happy and successful. And that's the opportunity that I'm giving you.